about that.
How do you think people will start to become, not more involved, everyone says get involved, but how do you think people become more educated? I was watching a program the other day, and there's a woman on there, she was a Harvard professor, and she said, oh, well, with respect to the banks, the bankers always win, and we just have to do what we have to do. And I thought that was such a kind of a flat line. I was like, we should know more now. It's not just that bankers always win. How do we become more educated about our government finances?
Well, I must say that I understand that banks are powerful and banks have money, but it's how you use your bank.
Mm-hmm.
I must say that when I started to apply a lot of these principles to myself,
Mm-hmm.
if I was anxious, what I would do is I call it doubling up our efforts.
Mm-hmm.
We have to double up our efforts because we're anxious, we're not confident. So that meant to me writing my questions down, writing my concerns down, communicating regularly, telling them what pleased me, what was missing, what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd bring another set of ears in with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd bring somebody in with me because I knew that maybe my anxiety was high.
Okay.
And I wanted to bring somebody in that was a little bit more sophisticated. And that's how I really learned to be a more enlightened and consumer that's in control. So there are products out there that the banks are coming up with because they know they have to start helping people save.
Okay.
To me, when I was recruited to educate, I thought, now that's to me that's a very good point. They care about their customer enough to educate the customer.
Mm-hmm.
But if the bank's not going to educate us, then we have to educate ourselves. We have to come in, we have to ask questions. A woman just said to me, gee, I'm wondering why they didn't have somebody here to translate what you're going to say into Spanish.
Oh, that's true.
Because I would have loved to have stayed. So I said to her, she's going to sign up an account. I said, tell them that you would like to have the literature and bring it, it's in English, the written pamphlet, go in and ask them about it because she speaks Spanish.
Okay.
And see, that's taking care of yourself.
That
and
is.
That's making sure that you can use this product, which I asked all the hard questions. And I believe it's a really good offering. But unless you use it well,
Right.
you might be disgruntled. So we're small compared to institutions, but we're doing it in the medical industry. We're becoming more enlightened
That's very true.
medical consumers.
Mhm.
Why can't we do it with our money? I often say to people, you would never go into your doctor and say, I have no idea what's going on with my body and I just trust whatever you're going to tell me.
That's
You
true.
have to go in with your aches, your pains, what feels good, what doesn't feel
Right.
good. And then you have to get a second opinion.
Mhm.
You have to bring somebody with you if you're anxious about it, scared about it. You can't procrastinate. If you feel something, you have to go in right away. Just apply the same principles to becoming a more enlightened and active money manager.
Actually, there are kind of three sets of groups of people these days. Well, it's probably more than that, but the three big groups, I guess, are like people coming out of college. The world that they're
Yes.
coming into right now is a little bit different than
Oh, yeah.
it was even a few years ago. Probably people in my age group who have married and children and had a plan and now are trying to shift to another plan.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
then also older people. My mom is looking at retiring in a year or so. She's on a government pension. She's a teacher. But even she and I were talking and just were wondering, will they even follow through with her pension? The states and the cities are in so much debt these days that, where are they going to look to cut? And is it going to be something that she thought she'd have for the next 25 years? How long will she actually have it? So, just looking at those groups of people, like what, not advice, but, what, if you were a person coming out of college right now, what would you?
What was
be thinking
interesting
of
to
doing?
me in both in Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, there were so many more young people in the audience than I expected. And after the presentation, and the first one I really got a lot of involvement. I asked them lots of questions. They are very concerned. And I think they're actually at an advantage
Okay.
because this happened early on.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think they've gotten it, that it's up to them. And that's what they kind of told me. I see my parents, I see that they didn't do what they should have done at an early age. One told me that his father sat him down and showed him the power of doing something when you're young. And he said that just was a big eye-opener to him. And then also the only thing I would say was that they didn't understand that if you do something daily and do something consistently, that these small steps can really add and really grow to large financial gain and large psychological gain. One of the things that they understood really well was that they can't spend money as other generations have spent money. And so I see them actually much more involved than I thought. And I see that in the people who respond to my blog. They tell me that they're young, that they have parents that are baby boomers, they're scared for their parents, they're scared for their parents' friends who don't have any savings. And so, you know, that particular, if we go from the youngest to the oldest, I have a lot of clients that are in that age group too. And what I see them doing is becoming really, really risk averse. Wanting something that's guaranteed, something that's secure. What they say to me over and over again is, I don't want to lose any more money. I can't afford to lose any money. I can't afford it emotionally, and I cannot afford it financially. And how do I find out my comfort level? What do I do to figure that out? I see them cutting back. I see them adopting behaviors that they never adopted before, not going out to eat. You know, it's like, it's not automatic anymore in terms of spending. It's, you know, do I want this, do I need this, putting checks, doing without.
Right.
I also have 2 clients who lost all of their pensions.
Wow. Is it through investments or just
They
because...
they worked for a bank, and that bank went bankrupt,
Oh dear.
and they lost everything.
Right.
And one of them is 68 years old. She's going back to work.
Oh, that's terrible.
She does have some of her own savings that she saved outside of work, and that's what is carrying her through. She's still investing that money, but now she is working, and not only working, but the toughest place that she's having, the toughest psychological pain for her is not being able to get to her grandchildren, because her one daughter doesn't earn very much money, is going through a painful divorce, and she was supporting that process. But she knows she can't do that. She told her, I just can't do it. So I don't think she ever thought that would ever happen to her, and she lived a very nice lifestyle. So I guess the point is, and then if I were a family, to look at your third segment, what I'd be doing is educating my children so that I didn't have the pressure from my children to spend, because I think they get a lot of pressure in terms of competing with their peers. I would start to educate them about what we had and how we were spending it, and I'd make them part of the process. I'd ask them, okay, we can spend it here, or we can spend it there. What's more important to you? Because I think part of the problem is we don't know our own priorities. We can't do it all. So what are we going to do? And then look for just ways to make better use of our money and save. I'd be looking for every way I could right now. And then just to keep, you know, maintaining that behavior over time. When things get a little better, to still become that conscientious saver.